Well, earlier I spoke to Pedro Santos Guerreiro, editor-in-chief of Jornal de Negocios, a Portuguese financial newspaper. I asked him how potentially calamitous it would be for the global economy if there isn't a deal before the Tuesday deadline.
Well, it's unpredictable, and that really is the higher risk, because no one can say what would happen the day after if the bill isn't passed. And frankly, no one believes in Europe mainly that the bill won't be passed, because it would be like, I don't know, a global Armageddon in the financial markets, and no one wants to believe that the US won't be able to pass this new debt ceiling that you are negotiating these days.
So give us an example of what the collateral damage would be for a country like China, which holds something like a quarter of foreign-held US debt.
Well, China basically has grown for the last years by exporting, by producing goods, which are bought mainly by the US. So if you have a crisis and you have a currency crisis and the dollar devaluates, then it changes all the scenario for China, because then the yen will evaluate, and then all the equilibrium which has held for the last years will change. And if China doesn't grow by exports and the US wants to export to China, that changes all the imbalances in the world. So what would China do if the yen goes higher and the dollar goes down? It really is a great question, because probably it will change all the equilibrium, and it would be a too much fast change in all the global financial markets.
You're talking to us from Portugal, which has grappled with its own debt problems. Do you think that the United States could have done anything differently if you were using the Portuguese example?
Well, it's kind of funny, because the President Obama said some days ago that the US aren't Portugal, which indeed they are not. But if you look at the public debt levels and budget deficit levels, well, the levels from the US are quite similar to Portugal's situation. And so if a small country like Portugal has promoted this kind of risk, of European risk, because now in Europe we are talking about Italy, which is the third largest public debt in the world, the third biggest one. And that started in Greece, and then went to Portugal, and then to Ireland, and now we are speaking of Italy. And so we are basically speaking of the Eurozone altogether. If a small country like Portugal causes this systemic risk, well, what would the US systemic risk be? It would be enormous. You can't really imagine what sort of risk it